Welcome to the Nutrabaits Sumbar Adventure 2018. So 12 anglers from 6 different countries travelled across Europe to converge on Lake Sumbar in Croatia. The UK lads had to drive 1,250 miles over a 2-day period just to get here. For me, I had the longest journey to Lake Sumbar, travelling all the way from Dublin and Ireland. Due to the distance involved for me, it was deemed better that I fly. Now, I arrived a little bit later than everyone else. The team arrived on the Saturday into the area of Lake Sumbar and stayed overnight in a hotel. They had a quick walk around on Saturday evening and then they had their draw. Luckily for me, I was put into the draw, but I didn't arrive until the Monday. So before the start to our Sumbar journey, let me introduce you to the team. From the get-go, the team pretty much knew what bait they wanted to bring on this trip. The one thing we wanted to do was bring baits that were readily available to the public via Nutrabaits. So we weren't bringing any bespoke baits that were better than what we actually retail, because to be honest with you, what we retail is the finest baits available. Trigger ice, trigger pineapple and butyric acid, and the amazing new big fish mix with krill and cranberry plus were the order of the day. The baits that we brought were freezer baits with a large quantity of shelf lice as well. One of the most popular methods of pimping the baits for fishing were to actually use a combination of the shelf life baits along with the freezer baits in a bucket, top it up with lake water, and then add one of the boosters or one of the liquid foods from our range. We are very lucky having 2 very experienced Croatian team members. Both live locally to Sumbar and have been fishing the lake for, well, Zleko's fishing it for 25 years, Kresho's fishing it I think about 15 years. Both guys are bailiffs on the lake, so they know the lake intimately.
We have in this water many carp and many grass carp. and they are really big. They are many 20 kilo plus.
I'm a Nutrabaits team member for 3 years, and the lake I love the most is Sumbar. Sumbar Lake is very nice, lots of big fish, very hard to catch. "27.8 kilos is my personal best, but there is lots of fish 25 plus, and we also have 30-40 kilos fish here, but it's very hard to catch. Carps here like much food. Quality baits, big amount, and we always choose like 2 or 3 boilies on the one spot, one big spot, big area. It's maybe 15 to 10 meters area. We feed about 10 to 15 kilos per day, and in this fishing I start with Triga and BFM with plum and caproic, which is my favorite flavor from Nutrabaits. And we have to provide the best baits we can get. And of course Nutrabaits is one of the best baits we ever tried here.
For me, the best presentation was with snowman, you know, and I have my favorite many year here. Whatever boil I use in this time pink paper. It was my favorite before. I use normally and today, but now we have something what I very like, and I see that carp also like. That is the new BFM Krill Cranberry Plus. It smells for me fantastic, and I see that carp also like this smell.
As I said, I arrived late to the party, and in the first 24 hours the team managed to really put a dent into the Sumbar fish with a few notable fish hitting the spreader blocks. Stoyan, our Serbian team member, he managed to put not 1 but 2 30-kilo fish on the bank in the first 24 hours, one coming in the night and one coming in the early morning.
My name is Stoyan Radosavljević. I came last and drew, and I pick up 19. Željko come in my spot, and he's told me what is the best position when I have a fishing. And I put all 3 rods in a quite short area, but I feed a very large spot. And first night, it's an amazing night. I have one fish about 30 kilos. What a beast! My new PB, 30 kilos. Sumbar, angry, common. Wow, I'm so excited. What a beast! after the few hours I catch bigger one, 31 kilos, and it's only 2 fish in the first night. I broke my PB twice. What a beast! 31 kilos, new PB. This time combination is trigger ice bottom bait with pop-up BFM krill and cranberry snowman presentation. Wow, I'm so excited, and this fish is so heavy. Wow, thank you Croatia, thank you Lake Sumbar. And comes in 4 night, and I catch the new PB, mirror 32 kilos. And Željko says me, mate, I fishing in this lake 30 years and I have 2 fish about 30 plus. You in a few days catch a free. You don't know what is your result. You don't know what is your result, mate. And I living the dream in the Croatia and the Sumbar Lake. I came on the lake with my homemade freezer bait, trigger ice, and I pick up in the lake shelf life boilie, about 30 kilos with boat bait. I buy a bucket with 15 kilos maize, and I put about 10 kilos maize and 5 kilos boilies, Trigger pineapple and butyric shelf life, and my homemade trigger ice. When I use in combination with some pop-ups, white spice or pink pepper.
So I managed to get peg 26 in a draw, and peg 26 puts you pretty much smack bang in the middle of the lake, on the deeper side of the lake. It's a very well-known big fish spot, and when I arrived it was heaving with fish. They were all porpoising and head and shouldering about 100-130 yards out. It took me pretty much most of the afternoon, come into the evening, to get myself organised and set up. Once I was set up, it was just a case of positioning the rods. At that stage it was getting quite dark. Within an hour of my first rod being out, I had a fish on the bank, and about 40 minutes later I had another one. The next morning found myself and Seb doing what we ended up doing pretty much for the whole week, and that was being on our toes first thing in the morning and doing a lot of video footage and photography, because during the early hours of the morning and into the first 3 or 4 hours there would be a flurry of activity around the lake. It wasn't until about 1 o'clock in the afternoon before I could get back to my swim and reposition all my rods, and about an hour later something really special happened.
So Jerry, tell me, this is your what, fourth carp? This to second day?
Third carp.
Third carp.
Just lost one. We think that's a grassy though. Gave a very funny take, very abortive take. Hit it, felt the fish. It felt a good fish. It was gone again. And you reckon it was a grassy? I'll take your word for it. It wasn't the same sort of take that I've been getting off the carp. But yeah, I've had 2 fish last night, all within sort of an hour of each other. Both 50s, 53 and change, 53.8 I think it was, and 55.8. So both commons, both absolutely cracking carp. And immaculate, just not a bit of damage on them or no parasites, considering it's such a dense water of fish here. It's just incredible to see fish in that condition. It's a testament to this particular lake. Obviously how well it's run and the water quality, but I've never been afraid to give fish bait, never been afraid to put out a good bit of bait for fish, but this lake scares me. Dropping 6 kilo at a time from a bait boat is just a savage amount of bait to be dropping per rod, and you can get a run 20 minutes after dropping. It's incredible. The tactic I've tried to use here this week, I've pretty much come as the cameraman of this journey, so I'm working more than fishing, but I've kept markers out of my swim. I've relied on the bait boat with its GPS, and I've relied on that to sort of find my spots. I'm fishing out, there's a bar out about 115, 120 yards out, and I'm fishing at the edge of the bar. It's really flat, really clean. It's about 4.1, 4.2 meters deep there. Drops away into the gully about 5.3 meters. So the fish seem to want to come from the top of the bar. That said, I haven't tested it from below into the deeper water yet. I might try and do that tonight and try and see if it produces anything else. But yeah, it's I'm using the Ronnie Rig, which I don't really like to call it the Ronnie Rig because the originator is a guy called John Barnes who fishes Walthamstow, and John invented the rig, got hijacked, taken over, name lost in translation, but John Barnes' rig, it's got a few tweaks. A good mate of mine, Rob, he put me onto it, his own sort of take on it and the way he sets it up, and it's Yeah, I rarely drop fish on it. I know some people do, and they don't get on with it. They move away from it very quickly. But if it's set up correctly, I find the hook holds are fairly good. And that's it, I dropped a fish just now. But it was, as I hit it, I dropped it rather than actually playing it for any time. And as Croatia said to me, he reckons it was a grassy. So I'll let that one slip. Grassies are really, really big in here, like massive.
Yeah, 25, 30 kilos.
Yeah, I've already seen one fish that just blew me away last night by Zleko. His grassy was just, you could put a saddle on them and ride them. They're just huge. This fish actually hasn't done much. It's heavy, it's moving. It's kind of kept on the same line as I'm in. You know, when you're on a new water, when you get used to fishing a lake, you can get into sort of how the fish perform, how they fight. You can kind of work out pretty much, you know, by the way it's fighting, how big a fish is. But on a new water, you just don't know. It takes a long time for you to build up that sort of information. All of them tend to, I mean, the 55 I had last night, Croatia and myself had to go out on the boat. It actually snagged me here in the reeds. We actually had to take a boat out and take it from a different angle, which worked brilliantly, but it fought for another 5 or 6 minutes out in the boat after an already a 10-minute battle. They're like tigers in here. And again, that would indicate good oxygen levels and good healthy water. It's a very heavily spring-fed lake, so that's always going to help.
Yeah, yes. Bravo, Jerry.
I think we've just done another PB.
So say something.
Don't really know what to say. That is a donkey. Yeah, I'm going to need to go and have a sit down for a second.
I'm Richard Hughes, current owner of Nutrabaits. During 2015, Bill wanted a bit of take a back seat, a bit of retirement, whatever you want to call it, due to ill health. And at this point, the tag group came in, run by Steve Tasker, purchased the company. For one reason or another, it didn't quite work out. July 2017, I was in a position that I was able to save the company. I've been a long time user of Nutrabaits, since the late 80s. Love the brand, love the bait, and I couldn't see me ever wanting to use anything else. So moving forward, we're investing heavily, putting the company back to where it needs to be. Passionate anglers making bait for passionate anglers. The ownership at Nutrabaits may have changed, but one thing that certainly hasn't is the quality. It's the best of the best. Always has been, always will be. If you wanted something to stand the test of time, catch carp season after season, look no further.
Now, Derek Pye was fishing over in swim 22, which is a really interesting swim, and it's probably one of the most interesting swims on the lake because it gives you the most water to fish to. So swim 22 is actually, there's 22 and there's I think 3 other swims built into that, and each of them are double, so you could actually fit probably the guts of 6 anglers on this particular peg. Derek fished for most of the week on his own, and Derek had a blinding week. Peg 22 offers you so many different angles of attack. There are bays that are deep, there are huge expanses of open water with lots of different variations, plateaus and gullies and shelves, and then there's also a very long tree line margin to hit. So as I say, it's when you only have 3 rods and you have so many spots to fish to, it's very hard to know which one to go for. Derek capitalised on his angling skills and really did justice to the swim. Over the week, Derek managed to nail 26 carp, 14 of which were over 40 pound, 7 of which were over 50 pound, topped by a massive 67 pound 12 ounce common. So on that note, we thought it might be a good idea to join Derek in his swim and have a chat with him about his tactics on rigs and baiting.
Well, this is a kind of rig I use at home. This is a multi-rig, just a simple multi-rig. It's using a coated braid straight through. I don't bother stripping anything back. My philosophy of rigs is like a lot of people, just to keep it as simple as possible. I'm really obsessive about sharpness of hooks. I'm not convinced rigs make a real big difference, but definitely sharp hooks are vitally important to landing, you know, good numbers of fish. And so anything that I can't tie in a couple of minutes, I won't really use, because if you have a big hit, you need obviously a big supply of them, and if I can't tie them in a couple of minutes, then I'm not prepared to sit there and spend the time doing it. The other advantage of the multi, obviously, is that you can change the hook after each fish without having to sort of tie a brand new rig up. So that's like the rig I would use at home as a standard, and I've caught loads of fish on it. But obviously you can't ignore the sort of current popularity of Ronnie rigs, so I've been trying to incorporate them. And a lot of people use things just because they become popular, but me, being me, I kind of want to know why they work and why they're so effective. And there's no doubting that Ronnie rigs are definitely effective hookers. My sort of eventual take on it was to include an amnesia boom, which makes it similar to a rig I used quite a few years ago. And I like the fact that the boom will land and then with a sort of buoyant bait move away from the lead, and it becomes, in my view, like the ultimate sort of bolt rig. At home I've been using this sort of 8 or 9 inch stiff boom of amnesia with it, and I've been nailing sort of 20 pound, 25 pound fish absolutely brilliantly. And that's the rig I brought to Sumbar for this week, thinking that that would sort of work just as effectively here. But the first 2 fish that I hooked, I lost, and one of them felt really big. So I sort of got it in my head that there was an issue with the rig, so I immediately had to change. And I think one of the main problems is that one of the spots in the swim is a margin. Now margins for me aren't really a heavy baiting area, they're an ambushing area, a place where you can pinch a fish you know, one at a time as fish move through or patrol down a margin. So I've been using them with small PVA bags of air-dried boilies, just to create a small feeding area, small enough so that I'm thinking that these fish will take that whole lot of bait in one mouthful. And if it's attached to your rig, they'll take your rig at the same time, your hook. Now that doesn't really work with the amnesia boom, which I think was what the problem I had, because the weight of the PVA bag doesn't allow the boom to work and push the bait away from the lead. So I quickly switched over after the first 2 losses to a heavy braided boom, about 8 inches, and ever since then, I mean, I shouldn't say it, but touch wood, I haven't lost a fish, and I've had like 22 fish now in 4 days. So I think that's quite an important thing, is that you've got to adapt your rigs to the situations you're fishing. Right, I'm just going to talk about the bait I'm using for this week at Sumbar. Obviously it's all Nutrabaits, and I've had it made up into about 3 different sizes of round boilies. I think there's 20s, 18s, and I think there's even some 14s in this bucket. And I've air dried it till it's absolutely rock hard. I've also got some sort of dumbbell shapes. Any of that obviously gives a little different setup for the carp when they're coming in feeding. There's got to vary the different suck, you know, sort of thing that they do to pick the baits up. But my sort of technique is to keep it air dried and dry, and then before I use it, use one of the Nutrabaits liquid boosters to sort of wash over it before I use it for baiting. Which for this one is trigger, so I'm using the trigger booster. And so I just basically give a good sort of glug of that over maybe a couple of kilos, leave it for a few hours and then bait up with it. And it draws some of that booster into the air dried bait and then lets it out when it's in the lake. The other bait I'm using is the new BFM and krill, which again this is air dried. I've soaked this in a little bit of water to rehydrate it, and then again I'll be mixing that with the new BFM krill and cranberry liquid booster, and again about 4 hours before I bait up I do that and then use it for baiting up. Sometimes at home I will have my bait in the freezer, take it out still frozen, cover it in the liquid booster, and then you know, give it a good mix up and then put it back in the freezer overnight, and then when you throw it out it draws even more of the liquid booster into the bait as it thaws, and you get that instant attraction once you've baited up with it, drawing fish into the swim with you know, an attraction that quickly comes out of the bait and spreads into the surrounding area. Just a word about the various liquid boosters that Nutrabaits have put out. These have got natural sugars in them, liquid food, emulsifiers, the fantastic Kajauza range, and obviously the flavours are in some of them. They were originally designed for particles, but they're absolutely fantastic on particularly air dried boilies, but any boilies as an added attraction that quickly disperses in a swim, drawing fish in. Right, so I've got my bait boat set up here, particularly for areas like the margin, where you're sort of trying to get tight in and not having to do a lot of different, you know, not a lot of repeated casts to particularly spook fish. So what we've got in there is a 4-ounce lead, the rig we talked about earlier, lead core leader, and that goes in first. And basically all I've been doing is basically filling the boat up as much as I can get in with the liquid boosted air dried bait. So you can get anywhere between 3 and 5 kilo of bait in per drop, and obviously there's so many big fish in this lake, that's just a meal for a couple of big ones. Yeah, I mean, I have used some hemp this week, but out now I found the bigger fish particularly are coming to just boilies, and it's obviously a simple way to go. But I found that they say the hemp were bringing in some bream, etc., and some of the smaller carp. So I'm looking for a big fish approach, which is just out and out boiling. Obviously, when this boat is over the spot, you've still got 2-3 metres of water on most of the spots, so it won't be a tight grouping when it drops. It'll spread over quite a wide area as it goes down to the bottom. As well as the delivery of the bait with the bait boat, I also make a point of either sticking or catapulting bait over the area as well, giving an even wider spread, probably over something as large as half a tennis court area is what I'm looking at, and keeps fish, you know, it obviously improves the area of attraction, that'll pick up fish moving through the swim, but also it'll make the fish move around the swim. And then hopefully the idea with there'll be a tighter grouping in one area, which is what the bait boat's dropped, which will focus their attention on my hook bait.
So Lee Upston was opposite me in peg 16, a real open water swim which was pretty featureless and would require deft application of bait, which Lee is really good at. And that's what he did for the whole week. He used quality bait, applied it in the right manner, and was able to nick some superb results and amassed a real large number of fish by the end of the week.
come out and draw and swim 16, what the locals call superposition 16. Casting approximately about 85 metres, 3 rods, near enough on one spot. Up to about 13 fish I think at minute. A nice brace of big 50s, top end 50s. Mainly fishing with trigger ATS, pineapple butyric, mixed in with a little bit of BFM. Both excellent baits for fishing abroad. Rigs I've decided to use I'm not a big fan of swapping or changing things. I only really ever use 2 rigs, which is one is a snowman rig, a Nutrabaits pop-up on top, cream kajauza or white spice. I mean, one of them 2 will definitely 100% get me a bite. The other rig I've been using is just an absolute basic blowpipe rig. Either with a wafter on it or a Nutrabaits pop-up. Again, white spice or kajauza. They're the ones for me, what'll always get me a bite. There's no reason to swap and change. If you're catching at home, you will catch abroad. So just keep things nice and simple and use what you think you're confident in. I've been using quite a lot of bait this trip. This lake does contain a hell of a lot of fish and a hell of a lot of big fish. I've been probably putting in anything up to 8 kilo a day. Average really for a big fish water like this.
Now, like me, Seb wasn't given a huge amount of downtime on the rods. The media duty's just taking up too much time during the day and into the evening. But whatever time he did get on his rods, he made the absolute most of it in peg 4.
Well, I'm not fishing too difficult, just a simple snowman, semi-blowback rig on coated hook link. Just cut it off a small edge from the coating and job's done. It's really working well. We got take after take. This night we had, for example, Carnage. 12 takes, CSEC had 3 takes. It's incredible lake, incredible surroundings and incredible fish. So time to get the rod in position again. So yeah, when I arrive on the venue, the first thing I do is, I think it's very important, listen to the locals, because they visit a lot and they can give you some pinpoint information where you can adapt on with your angling. For example, I heard they're spombing a lot and do really spread it out. I never follow the herd, so I always like to give it my own edge. So I decided to start baiting up, but did it really compact with the bait boat, for example. With the two hoppers, it will always drop really compact. That's how we started. Instead of fishing only with bowlies, I decided to fish with the big fish mix krill cranberry pop-ups on top of the trigger and the trigger ice. So what I did, I pre-soaked the bowlies in water with a couple of liquids, hemp oil, corn strip liquor, and of course the liquid booster itself. And I mixed it with the pellets in different sizes, so the trigger ice pellets, the trigger pellets, and the big fish mix pellets. And then fishing with a snowman, 20 mil on top with a 50 mil pop-up. I must say it took a little time to get it kicked off, but at the moment we're howling. For example, last night we didn't have any sleep. We had 12 fish, Seasec had 4 fish, and it keeps on going. It's an incredible lake, incredible fish, and it's an incredible venue. And like I said, we're howling, you know, and this is how it's going the last 3 days. Size not always matters. You catch really big ones over here, but also the small ones. And for me, every fish is appreciated because that's where it's all about. Size doesn't matter. Enjoying your hobby and enjoy it every second, because being there is already enough, guys.
At the end of the week, at last knockings, Seb managed to bag a new PB common of 62 pound 2 ounces, a worthy prize for the amount of work that he put in that week.
Unbelievable. Last night, cherry on the pie, 28.2 kilos, and what a magnificent looking monster.
Lake has been really kicking off over the last 24 hours. We've seen some really big fish. One man here behind me is going to come into shot, the Terminator. He's now up to his third 30 plus kilo fish. I've a 41 mirror just in the sling there a few minutes ago. Put the bait back out, trying to organise myself, and the rod's just gone off again. I'm dropping 6 kilo of bait at a time out the hoppers. These fish are just munching. The fights have been incredible because there's so much depth. Straight in, it's 2.5–3 meters deep, and they go down. It's just been fantastic. Catfish. My first ever.
You're gonna love the smell, Gary.
Yeah.
You broke many PBs.
Yeah.
Jerry, the PB breaking machine.
I don't touch this creature.
Me neither.
You're wrong.
1914. Never had a catty before, so.
Lucky
You'll
guy.
never watch one again.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Да, да.
Another trigger muncher. 41-pound mirror on a pink saffron and cream monkey climber special collab with Nutrabaits. This was taken over 6 kilo straight out the hoppers of the RT4. A mixture of trigger ice and big fish mix. Absolutely, they're caning the bait all over the lake. We are catching loads of fish because of the quality of the bait, hands down. Last week this lake saw a lot of pressure and very few fish caught. We turn up with some really quality bait and they are all over it. So let's get this one back.
I have Nutrabaits. Yeah. You are strong in the arm, I am strong in the head.
Yeah, boy. Nicely done, mate.
Guys, do you see anywhere white shark?
Yeah. As you can imagine, with any group of anglers, there's always going to be the big personalities, but one of the quieter members of our group, a guy called Hans, he quietly tipped away at catching some huge fish down in peg 25, just to the left of me. He caught steadily all week and returned most of them without even a photograph, and that's how Hans rolls. He's not there for the photograph, the bit of video footage or the fame. He's there because he wants to enjoy the moment. He's a big fish angler from Europe. He's caught a lot of big fish, so he's nothing left to prove to anyone or himself, and he just does it for the absolute pure joy of catching carp. To be honest with you, if it hadn't been for me shoving a camera in his face every now and again, we probably wouldn't have seen Hans in this DVD at all. I joined Hans for a little chat and got a bit of an insight onto his methodology or his ideology of carping.
First, let me say and introduce myself. My name's Hans. I've been fishing since the mid-80s and been doing some Nutrabaits distribution in Benelux area since 2003, I guess. I'm fortunate to fish this beautiful lake in Croatia, apart with some of the Nutrabaits lads. So I've been fishing since I was a child, and I guess fishing for everybody, they've got their own reasons. I know when I was a little child, I went to someone who caught a really big carp, and since that I was fascinated by catching big carp throughout Europe. As I think with fishing with everybody, it's to set your own targets, to set your own goals for fishing, and nowadays we're in a world, I think, full of social media. You see a lot of guys making photography of an art form. Some people fish public waters. I think the beauty in carp fishing is there is a place for everybody. Personally, I've done my share of big fish catching for 10-15 years. But for me, it's not about the big fish, not about the beautiful picture. It's just about the experience you get from it, and setting your own targets, your own goals, and going for the thing that makes you happy. After fishing for 20 years, the beauty of nature and the experience of fishing, I think, now plays the most important role in my life, and luckily I am able to fish some beautiful venues throughout Europe, and luckily enough I've been blessed to catch some of the bigger carp that are in some of these ponds. It's an easy one, of course, that I've been always had the opportunity to use the Nutrabaits product. I fished with them since '95, and I said I was blessed to distribute them since 2003. So not joking in any way, but it also had a big contribution to a lot of the beautiful fish which are in my memory, as I said before.
We all came to Sumbar with hopeful expectation that we'd at least catch a few fish, and maybe, just maybe, two of the team members might pull off a really big carp, because this lake had track record of producing such. But I don't think anyone expected the pure carp catching carnage that Sumbar provided us. In 1 week's fishing, 12 anglers managed 300 fish. 270 of them were carp, and of that 270, a huge portion of them were over 40 pound. We managed 6 different fish to 30 kilo plus, and that really made for an epic trip. Sumbar is one of those venues. It's an awesome place with the potential to give you a fish of a lifetime. A truly outstanding week on a truly outstanding water.
What does carp fishing mean to me? For me, the most important part of carp fishing is nature around me, relaxing, enjoying your environment, escape of the concrete world, and enter your own epic surroundings. And carp for me are just a bonus. Already being there is for me the most important part of fishing.
Nutrabaits, just the most effective baits I've ever used, and I'm just really glad that I stuck with them through thick and thin, because now the baits I think are just better than ever, and I think this week in Sumbar proved it.
Part of the team Nutrabaits is very big, and feeling I am the part of the big family, you know, and I'm very proud.
Absolutely brilliant time here at Sumbar. Team Nutrabaits, PB-wise, there's been a fair few. It's been great, it's been absolutely amazing. If you can get to Sumbar one day in your life, you've just got to get here.
As I've already mentioned, we've some big personalities in the team, and one thing I've learnt this week is that you never leave your camera gear alone in Žleko swim or Croatia swim, especially when Croatia knows how to work your camera.
So let me tell you something about our friend Jerry.
Oh, Jerry is a good guy, but
Yeah,
he
he's
drink
too much.
He drink all our wine.
All our wine, and now I have to go to home to bring 50 more liters, because yesterday he drank about 16 liters.
Yeah.
And he drinks about half what he catch. So if he catch 40 kilo fish, he drinks about 20 liters of wine. Yeah. So he have a problem with alcohol.
And alcohol have the problem with the Jerry.
So, but he is a great guy. We love him. It's our best neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's only
neighbor, and,
and almost the best.
and the best Irish guy we met.
Yeah,
Ever,
yeah.
ever.
Because he is first.
But he, generally, he looks like normal guy. It's not
Yeah.
like he's like Irish. You can see on him.
No.
You can see that he's a hairdresser because he's always fancy hair and doing like this all the time. So you can see
when he tell me that he is Irishman, I don't believe because I know that Irishman is big, strong, nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Funny.
funny.
Yeah. But you know, how to say, you can't choose
The neighborhood.
the neighborhood. Yeah, we get him. Okay, maybe next time we'll be more lucky, and then we get Lee.
Yeah, or
Lee
something.
or something normal.
No, yeah.
Somebody normal.
Derek.
Well, yeah. And we just want to tell that. Come closer. We have also Richard was our neighbor, and he said I couldn't stand Jerry anymore, and he go away 100, 200 meters, and he said I can't
Be close to Jerry.
Because he was not bath for 5 days. He don't clean his here like this. Yeah, we all go wash ourselves,
Yeah.
but Jerry don't want to. So
He don't even don't wash the hands.
Yeah, after pee.
Okay, stop. It's enough.
It's enough.
Hi.
We love you, Jerry.